March 20th, 2023. It's going to be a good night. We'll say the Pledge of Allegiance, please, if you join me. Turn that off. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
God, it's like you're figuring it out. All mass something.
Trustee Olson,
Here.
Trustee Wagner,
Here.
Trustee Reister,
Here.
Trustee Fields,
Here.
Trustee Holmes, President Frisbee.
So we have a work session. Was there any changes or additions? Could you not hear you?
So we might.
So we have an agenda in front of us. Additions or changes, anything by the council?
Trustee Wagner, so moved.
Trustee Fields, support. Aye.
Motion carries. We have an agenda in front of us, so we have no schedule. Citizens' comments for agenda items and non-agenda items. If you so care to speak to this tonight, now's your time to do it. I think we're gonna cap on the use of the Zoom machine. We have no schedule. Action items. Approval of the bill call. In fact, Steve Breyer with Citgo Transit for joining us. He's been instrumental in documenting and solidifying where we stand. Stress.
No. Talking to a guy who's hit a door with a ram and yelled search warrant. What I'll do is, because I can look for this document while Mr. Frederick and Mr. Collins speak. We know right now, Mr. Breyer cannot hear. I'm gonna end up calling him on my cell phone. Something's up with that computer over there. We've been able to take away the back feed. So when Carl speaks, we will do that. I'll set up a three-way call when Mr. Frederick and Mr. Collins speak. I'll also get the documents that we have reference the resolution and move forward. So I apologize, Mr. Frisbee. I was playing IT person a little bit. I think, am I ready to introduce Mr. Fredericks?
Yeah, you have to leave.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Fasten your seatbelts. Got time to make up. Ryan, I think I told you 6 minutes. It's down to 3.5. All right. Hey, this is an exciting night. Started a journey back really in the fall of 16. Multiple people, as I've always utilized needs, wants, and wishes. Type what is for the village and what's needed for the village. It came up, conversations about Village Hall, conditions of Village Hall, does it serve the needs of the citizens and visitors? At that point, it was a wish. We don't need to go through the historical track that we've taken. We'll get a little bit into that in the resolution. I think spells it out. Formally, our first action on Village Hall occurred in January of 2018, where the council took formal action and assigned $125,000 to the future cost of a village hall. Specifically, at that time, our goal was to get the village in a financial position, and we knew the incurrence of debt would be a deterrent to that. Interesting enough, that same night we paid off all general fund debt as well. Some equipment at DPW was paid off way early, saving about $2,800 of interest, and the only debt still associated with is Angels Crossing in a different fund, or water and sewer. So pretty significant night back in 18. A lot of policy implementations throughout that time, with always the goal to not burden our citizens with a future debt. And as well as if you bond stuff out, we obviously have interest considerations. So we continued that track. We knew we were talking a pretty substantial investment. It's certainly in excess right from day one. We knew it would be over $1 million, and I'll get into the financing and the savings. It's been a blessing, and we've talked about it, but if Mr. Fredericks can come up, his team, I can't tell you, I've gotten to know him well due to the time we've spent in conference rooms, Teams calls, or on phone calls, always answering. No matter what time it is or the weekend, I might bother Mr. Collins because all of a sudden a question comes in my head, and they always answer and give it. So I want, and I think their team will explain a little bit how much effort they put into this project. And I've told people I don't know anything about construction, building, never hire me to do that. One thing I think I am very comfortable speaking on, especially in public, is recognizing an entity, a group, an organization that demonstrates synergy and teamwork. And that's certainly Mike Frederick's company. Every contact I have, there's no egos in the room, there's no pyramid structure. It's truly a blessing to be around an organization that is serving its customer, in this case, the village of Vicksburg. So with that, a thank you from my heart, Mike, and I don't know if you want to go right to Ryan, but certainly want to introduce Mike and Fredericks and Ryan Collins. Also, I'm sure they'll mention Chad. I'm not going to miss him. I met him through this project. We're now brothers from another mother. Has been tremendous as well. So, Mike.
Good evening. And I do want to introduce Chad Candell. Chad played a major role in developing what we call bid packages. And what that does is once we receive the plans and specs from the architect, engineers, we look at breaking it apart and developing very specific scope that we put out to bid on behalf of the village. So Chad played a major role in that. We appreciate what he does. And happy to have him as part of the team. So here we are tonight. I just wanted to share a little of the history. We started this process, I think, January 20 of 2022. We presented to the village council the feasibility study, the results of the feasibility study. And we looked at three different options. Option one was purchase new property to build. Option two was look for another light type building and renovate it. And option three was to look at the existing site and what that had to offer. When we looked at budgets and we did a comparative, by far, building a new building on the existing site was much less expensive than going out and purchasing a new property or taking an older building and trying to figure out how to convert that new building into something that's energy efficient. Is going to meet the future needs of the village. So that's how this started. We were tasked with, okay, based on the information we provided, it was decided to go out and look at building a new building. We brought Eckert Wardell to the table, design firm. They put together three different designs, presented it back to the village for your comments, selected one, and over the last, 6, 7 months, we've now went through the vetting process of making sure that the plans and specs really certainly provided all the information necessary to get you a number that makes sense and try to avoid cost overruns through confusion. So we've accomplished that. We put it out to bid. We received several bids from various trade contractors. Ryan in a minute is going to speak on behalf of that. So really tonight, what we're suggesting to the village and what we're asking for approval of a budget of $2,452,082, which is the sum total of all the bids and all the service cost to build that new building. That includes roughly $106,952 in what we call contingency, which is the owner's money that is held in reserve to pay for things that could be unforeseen. And what might that be, for example? Well, one of them could be something buried in the ground that nobody is aware of that we have to take care of. Do we think that is going to happen? Based on all of our investigation, the answer is no. We don't think that's going to happen. Another item could be dewatering. Do we need to dewater? Well, we did sorrel boyings early on, and yes, we have water, but we think we're 5 feet above the water table, and we don't think we're going to have any issues with dewatering. So, but if we do, that's the purpose of the contingency. That's what that money's for, and the goal would be to protect that fund on behalf of the village and try to return all dollars back to you folks at the end of the project. The other thing that could affect contingency is if the owner elected to change something, add something to the project. And this project, I doubt that's going to happen because we've spent so much time with you folks, with Jim and his team, trying to make sure that it was all-inclusive number. So we feel really good about that. The other thing we feel real good about is the fact that we are about 5% lower than what our original budget was when we shared that information with you a couple months back. Knock on wood. I can't tell you that always happens, but in this case, we're going to call it a win, and we're very happy to share that information with you. So that, in a nutshell, is how we got here today. And unless you have questions, I'd like to turn it over to Ryan and let him go through the bid process, what that looked like. I don't know if you're aware of it, but your project was viewed statewide by, yeah, so 5 different platforms, roughly, I'm going to say 6,000 different hits virtually, because we reach out statewide trying to attract as many bidders as we possibly can. So we felt very good about the coverage. We felt very good about how many bidders came to the table. We feel very good about the quality of the bidders. And you know, I'm going to close this saying that on bid day we had great trade contractor participation in the bid process. We really did. For those of you that sat in the audience, I think you would feel that way. And as a result of that, we think the village is going to receive a high level of quality and value. And you have quality and you have value, and you try to right size both. So when we're done, you feel good about both. And that's the important thing. When we start to reduce quality or value, oftentimes clients not happy when you hit the finish line. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Ryan. I'll be available for questions. Just give me a nod and I can step back up here.
Evening, council members. It's good to be back here in this spot to report what we've been up to since you approved us in late December of last year to move forward with the pre-construction services. I talked a little bit about that before, but I'm going to go and dig in and tell you actually what we've been up to. So, you know, we left that last meeting, went back to our office and worked with the designer, Eckert Wardell, to finalize all the plans, specifications, and to really get the drawings where we needed to have them, 100% complete and ready for bid. In the meantime, Mike already spoke about it with Chad. He worked his tail off. You know, he wrote 27 bid packages. We have a project manual he put together that's, what, 400 or 500 pages long that goes along with the specification. It includes all the information for a subcontractor to understand, again, the requirements of the project, what the village requires, what Frederick Construction requires, so there's no confusion. And he did a phenomenal job with that. He took, also, Mike mentioned, posted all these documents throughout the plan rooms throughout the state of Michigan. We also used our internal plan room, Pantera, where we send it out to 1,000 folks. We were a little pickier with this one just because of who we were inviting and wanted to make sure they were well qualified. So, but we reached a lot of people with all of those, and that's important. You'll see here in a minute the response we got, but there's a lot of work into getting somebody during this time in our world where everybody's pretty busy to say, hey, I want to bid this. I want to go after it. So that was a lot of work up there. We conducted a pre-bid meeting. Chad led that, did an awesome job. So we had subcontractors that participated in that. That's our opportunity to understand, to have us take them through the bid forms, a general overview of the project, how to submit their bid, where to submit their bid, so there's no confusion again. And then after that, the other big part is Chad making phone calls, right? I mean, we all field calls in the office when we're going through this process, but Chad does an extremely good job of reaching out, getting folks on the phone saying, hey, we have this project, right? Because in email, we all get enough of them. Phone call, you kind of pay attention a little bit. Hey, maybe this is something we can do. Spent a lot of time doing that. Spent a lot of time with folks helping them with their bid forms so that when they did turn it into the village, it was right. We require a lot of documentation to a certain degree, and that's to protect you as the client, to protect us, and to ensure the subcontractors looked at everything that, we don't want a bad job for those folks either. So after that whole process happens, we have a lot of questions that come through. We send those to Eckert Wardell. Some of them we answer, but everything gets rolled into an addendum. We publish 3 of those. That's basically saying, here's the clarifications. Bid day was March 7th. The subcontractors and suppliers all delivered their bids to Village Hall. A half hour later, we came down here to do a public opening. We received 84 proposals. We were extremely happy with that. Good bid coverage is very important to support our budget, but also shows a really good interest in the village of Vicksburg and what's going on. So we were proud of that and really happy for you folks. After the bids are opened, we create a tab and then we go through and we say, all right, apparent low bidder. We get those folks on the phone for a post-bid interview, and it's our opportunity to put them through the paces. We know the project inside and out, so we ask very pointed questions. Have you included this and this and this? We want to make sure that that is all taken care of up front. Again, when we're in construction, it's much easier to be clear up front than it is after the fact. So we did that process. Takes several days. Chad worked his tail off on that and did all of those post-bid interviews. Through that process and talking with those folks, suppliers deal with products every day. Subcontractors, electricians, every day they're doing what they do best. So they come up with these ideas of what we call value engineering of, look, we can change a manufacturer of an HVAC unit, same warranty, same quality, same standard design that meets the intent of this project. Maybe because it's made by someone else, we save a couple $1,000. So we put these lists of things together, and they need to make sense for us that meet the quality and meet the intent, yet there's a cost savings. We are pretty proud to come back with over $38,000 of savings by doing that, and that's part of the process. So that was really good news, and we're pleased with that. So after we have all of our subs that we think we're going to recommend here together, I take that information, input that into a final budget, which I think you've seen a copy of, And, you know, like Mike already said, you know, we were $2,452,000. That was 3.2% lower than the budget we did in December when the drawings weren't yet complete. Me being what I do for a living for Frederick, I was super happy, right? That was great news to tell me that we all did our job well. So I was super happy with that. Mike already mentioned it includes the 5% contingency, which is great. It also includes us. If you can remember back in December, we said, well, sign us up for this amount of fee. I think it was $10,200. We'll do these per construction services. If we do the job and the job goes forward, we give that money back. So this budget here, assuming you'll approve the budget and the project to move on, we've credited those pre-construction services back to you folks to be able to do the job. And really to conclude, the big takeaways on this for us as a team, and I honestly think the village is going to see this too, is this subcontractor and supplier participation. You know, we were super pleased with that, and the number of bids we received gave us a chance to have a lot of quality contractors that are going to be doing work on this building for you. We're very happy with our potential sub list. The accuracy of the bid results, what I just talked about, in this volatile climate, that's not always easy. Things change by the day, so we were super happy with that. The other item that's important to mention is we have local Vicksburg-owned businesses that account for over $350,000 of sub-labor work within this new build. And they have their office here, they reside here, and that's a nice impact. And we were super happy to have, you know, good 3 subcontractors that call this home to be working on this job. Lastly, this was a great example of the way this process should work. You folks gave us the time, Jim gave us the time to do it properly, and to work through the budgeting, work through all the details, and this is what success in the pre-construction services looks like. And so I'm stoked and excited and proud, and it's been a lot of fun for me. So I'll open it up. Jim, I'm all set, so I don't know if questions.
We'll go ahead. We'll do questions at the end, unless you want to do. What I did, if they saw me on camera or whatever, I have Carl and Steve on phone. So we'll use examples like this probably in a budget presentation in the future, reference IT staffing and stuff like that. So everything comes together very nice. So, you know, we take advantage of a good crowd in the audience for good witness participation. That, yeah, I saw them flying all over the place, not on camera. So here's the big deal. You know, we get the plans on a building, and obviously there's cost, and in today's world of construction, and with the goal, and really it was the expectation that we don't come in front of the council unless we can demonstrate that we have cash in hand for cash financing of this project. So a lot of behind the scenes hours went into ensuring that we had cash in hand to finance this project. Important that we also maintain through our policy structure a 25% unrestricted reserve fund. Though the state says 17, we've made a commitment that we'd keep that at 25. We wanted to have $150,000 still committed for a tax stabilization, which we've carried over each year. And we have capital needs of the village as well, whether you had a couple meetings ago, approval for a new pickup truck and plow for the DPW tonight at 7 o'clock. We have a new patrol vehicle, and we've saved money over time with the expectation of what those costs are. So the details will come in the resolution, but in front of you, we have money at the proposed level for this building project to move forward. Michelle and I worked together internally first to scrub numbers and run the projections. And don't want to, this is not guesswork. It's not an assumption. We put a lot of hours into scenarios over the next 3 years, both revenue, additional revenue, and more importantly, a shortfall, and what our track record and trends demonstrate. So what we did is we came up with, and I'm going to put on the screen so everyone will talk about this, and I've hit so many buttons on 2 different computers, things that were set up. I've sent into cyberspace somewhere. So what we have is, and I think it's best, if you're okay with it, President Frisbee, I'll read the resolution that talks about the historical, where this started and some of the significant checkpoints along the way. And then we'll, if questions are for Mr. Breyer, but I think the resolution spells out pretty much where we've identified the money to be, as well as future things involving this property and others. So this is B Resolution 032023-01, Village of Vicksburg New Municipal Building. Whereas in the fall of 2016, the Village of Vicksburg Village Council acknowledged that there was a need to update the current Village of Vicksburg Village Hall due to structural age, lack of appropriate size, not being ADA compliant, and overall poor condition to serve the citizens and visitors of Vicksburg. And whereas in December 2016, the Village Council approved an improvement action plan that was filed with the state of Michigan that documented a plan to update and or create new village policies that addressed purchasing, budget processes, capital improvement assets, minimum unassigned fund balances, and to become a model general law village that implemented best practices and transparency. And whereas the General Law Village Official Handbook from the Michigan Municipal League states, in quotes, few municipalities have cash resources to finance facilities with a large price tags and long life, such as a new municipal office. Most must incur debt in the form of a bond issue to finance such improvements to facilities, similar to a home buyer who must incur debt in the form of a mortgage, end the quotes. And whereas the General Law Village Officials Handbook from the Michigan Municipal League states, in quotes, the incurring of a debt by a municipality should be considered amongst the most serious of all courses of action available to a village council, end the quotes. And whereas in January 2018, the village council, and all of these whereases was a public meeting in front of the council, but in January 2018, the village council approved resolution 0115-2018-1 and the 2016-17 village audit that documented an unassigned fund balance that had improved to 31%, up from 14% in the 2015-2016 fiscal year audit. Documented an expectation to save money to update a municipal building in 2024, and for the first time in the history of the Village of Vicksburg, approved an assigned fund balance of $125,000 towards the updating of a new municipal building. And whereas on January 21st, 2019, the Village Council approved Resolution 0121-2019-1 and the 2017-2018 Village Audit that documented the unassigned fund balance of 70%, an assigned fund balance totaling $228,250, and an approved committed fund balance of $550,000 towards the updating of a new municipal building. And whereas on January 20th, 2020, the Village Council approved Resolution 0120202021 and the 2018-2019 village audit that documented an unassigned fund balance at 65%, an assigned fund balance totaling $401,137, and approved a committed fund balance of $775,000 towards the updating of a new municipal building. And whereas on January 18th, 2021, the Village Council approved Resolution 01182021-1 and the 2019-2020 village audit that documented the unassigned fund balance at 70% and assigned fund balance totaling $200,000, and approved a committed fund balance of $975,000 towards the updating of a new municipal building. And whereas on January 17th, 2022, the Village Council approved Resolution 01172022-1 and the 2020-2021 village audit that documented the unassigned fund balance at 70% and assigned fund balance totaling $471,137, and approved a committed fund balance of $1,575,000 towards the updating of a new municipal building. And whereas on January 16th, 2023, the Village Council approved Resolution 01162023-1 and the 2021-2022 village audit that documented the unassigned fund balance at 60% and assigned fund balance totaling $535,467, and approved a committed fund balance of $2 million towards the updating of a new municipal building. And whereas on January 17th, and I apologize, I think I said January 16th for the last whereas, but it's January 17th, so where this will be the second council action. On January 17th, 2022, the Village Council approved Frederick's Construction to provide the Village Council with a comprehensive report that detailed options for a new municipal building or locating and purchasing an existing building within the village limits or remodeling the existing village hall. And whereas on April 25th, 2022, Frederick's Construction presented the results of a formal survey conducted regarding a municipal building, options within the village of existing buildings, remodeling the existing village hall, or constructing a new municipal building that specifically looked at two different locations of property owned by the Village of Vicksburg. After receiving the recommendation from Frederick's Construction in a lengthy question and answer period with Village Council members, the Village Council unanimously approved the selection of constructing a new municipal building on village-owned property just north of the Village Municipal Water Tower on Richardson Street. And whereas on July 18th, 2022, Frederick's Construction and Eckert Werdell presented a proposal for final design concepts, and after a thorough question and answer period with Village Council members, the Village Council unanimously approved the village manager to enter into a contract not to exceed $132,150 to complete the final design and provide an estimate of the cost to construct the building to the Village Council. And whereas on December 19th, 2022, Frederick's Construction and the village manager presented the final concept design and outlined the next steps of a new municipal building to the Village Council. The Village Council unanimously approved placing the new municipal building out for public bid. And whereas Frederick's Construction managed the public bid process over the course that was open to public bids over a course of 30 days, 84 separate companies submitted sealed bids on various aspects of the new municipal building project. And whereas Frederick's Construction and village staff held an open meeting on March 7th, 2023 to unseal the 84 bids that were submitted. Frederick's Construction represented the village of Vicksburg in determining the acceptable low bids, held post-bid interviews with each of the low bidders to verify that bid expectations were met, and held multiple meetings with the village manager, village president, and village staff to determine the cost of the project. And whereas the total recommended construction budget with contingency is $2,452,082.83. Whereas the cost of final design concepts of $132,150 is part of the recommended construction budget and has already been paid with 2022-2023 fiscal year dollars. Therefore, the total recommended construction budget with a contingency to complete construction is $2,319,932.83. And whereas the village manager has worked with the internal team, Director of Finance Michelle Morgan, as well as Steve Breyer from Siegfried Crandall PC staff to identify the following plan to pay for the construction of a new municipal building in the following manner. The committed fund balance for the new municipal building was $2 million. There'll be budget amendments within this resolution in the 2022-2023 fiscal year. The first budget amendment is an amendment for the municipal building at $200,000. The other amendment is an action council already took, and that is at $132,150 for those design plans and projected cost. The 2023-2024 fiscal year budget that commences on July 1st, 2023 will have a commitment of $200,000 to the construction of the municipal building. These numbers total $2,532,150. And whereas the corresponding revenue from the 2022-2023 fiscal year to offset the amendments above has been identified in the following manner. The proposed 2022-2023 fiscal year budget was estimated in the current real property tax to be a revenue of $1,150,000. The village of Vicksburg has received to date $1,267,317.59 in revenue in this fund to date. That additional $117,317.59 will be applied to the municipal building fund expense code. The proposed 2022-2023 fiscal year budget estimated that the fiscal year would conclude on June 30th, 2023 with a positive balance of $376,838.84. The amendment will indicate that $214,832.41 of this revenue will be applied to the municipal building fund expense code, thus leaving an estimated positive balance of $162,006.43. To date, these numbers are on track. And whereas it is recognized that the furnishings for the new municipal building have not been placed for sealed public bid process. However, the specifications for the furnishings have been completed, and upon approval of this project, they will go to bid as soon as possible, but in any event, not longer than 30 days from now. And whereas it is estimated that the cost of these furnishings will be between $70,000 and $100,000, the source of the general fund revenue for the furnishings will come from the 2023-2024 fiscal year revenue and will be presented during the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget presentation this June. And whereas it is recognized that the front public LED display sign intended to be in front of Village Hall has not been placed for a sealed bid process. It is estimated that the cost for the sign will not exceed $75,000. The source of the general fund revenue for the LED signage for the front of Village Hall will come from the 2023-2024 fiscal year revenue and will be presented in the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget presentation this June. And whereas it is recognized that the demolition of the existing Village Hall will not occur until after the new Village Hall building is constructed and is open for business. And whereas it is anticipated that the Village of Vicksburg Department of Public Works staff will utilize village equipment to demo as much of the existing building as possible. However, an additional $75,000 will be budgeted for outsourced contractors to assist in the demolition process if needed in the 2023-2024 fiscal year and presented in the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget presentation this June. And whereas it is estimated that approving to finance this project with cash, the Village of Vicksburg will save the taxpayers between $1,541,402.19 and $2,148,691.53 over the course of a typical municipal 30-year or 40-year bond, which the current rates are set at 3.5% interest. And now therefore be it resolved, the Village Council of the Village of Vicksburg approves the bid awards as presented, and for the village manager to enter into a contract with Frederick's Construction to act in the capacity of a construction management services for the construction of a new municipal building that will be constructed in a manner that should serve our residents and visitors for the next 100 years. The important notes on is a lot of that technicality is governmental stuff, so we can seal this and that. But the highlights are this: it took 6 years. We saved more than enough money because as we knew it would be over $1 million, we recognized where our skill set lies and where it does not lie. When we became close to knowing that we needed to get the numbers narrowed in, we brought the experience and expertise of Mike Fredericks and his staff and drilled down, and I truly in my heart can't imagine, it's got to be in the hundreds of organizational hours that they put in to getting us to this point. And so we build it, and it all goes to plan as we just said. I'm sure some might ask, well, is there money for other stuff? And happy to report there will be. With all the numbers that I just mentioned, it's projected we will still maintain a 25% unrestricted, unassigned fund balance. On raw numbers, that'll be north of $500,000. We will also have the $150,000 committed to a tax stabilization fund. And probably most importantly, all of our capital projects that we have saved money for, which include long-term purchases such as the next vac truck that won't occur for another 18 years. But more important maybe to citizens is improvements in Parks and Rec that still have a commitment of over $80,000. We still have a commitment going forward for pension stabilization if that ever comes up. We still have the large parking lot behind the hardware. We have 13 different categories of money that we have specifically assigned money for. So above the 25% unrestricted fund, you will have north of $500,000 still in the pipeline for those projects in subsequent fiscal years. All of our projections, and as I said, it was a science, looked at revenue, especially in the 22, 23, and 23, 24 fiscal years. And I stand before you as confident as I have ever been in the 7 years of employment of the village of Vicksburg that this project will be one of the only municipal buildings with your approval financed by cash in this state, and that at the end of the day, in the end of the project, this village will continue to be transparent and incredibly well off in a position to continue to serve our citizens and continue to deliver the additional stuff for our Parks and Rec, our quality of life, as well as our employee staff. We are on the map to put us in a position that the next wave, the next generation, the succession plan, if you will be in place, that it will be a very attractive community to come serve. The other intangible is to begin to have such an impact on our gateway on Richardson Street. And we will continue to look at ways to improve that. But I'm going to, Steve is on the phone. And Steve, you put a lot of work, including a couple Saturdays and Sundays with me. Can you hear me? Well, can you talk on the phone?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, if you can mute your thing, then we won't get the back feed here.
Okay, got
Go ahead, Steve.
it. And, yeah, I look at this, I just think that it's remarkable that this was done over a 6-year period. It's remarkable enough that you're paying cash for this building, but to do it in 6 years is, it's really special. You're doing special things in Vicksburg, and I think you should really celebrate it. And, I congratulate you. You're doing a great job. When I first came in as the auditor, Vicksburg was in pretty rough shape, and now you're doing well. I mean, it's unbelievable you'll be able to pay for a building without incurring debt. I've audited many municipalities that have built new halls, but it's always been funded by debt. So it's a great thing to have that savings, and I'm glad to be a part of this project and working with you. Do you have any questions for me?
Is there any specific questions for Steve?
Or at this time too, we'll ask Steve. I know he's going to stick on, or Frederick's construction, and then at council members' comments, if we can start with Carl, who's on the phone as well.
So we just keep, Now's the time to ask any questions if you have them.
All right. Yeah, if we can start with Carl if someone wants to, it's staff's recommendation that we receive a motion of supporting the resolution as read with a support, and then the clerk will call a roll call vote. But after the motion and support, then it would be opened up to council comments.
Trustee Wagner, I move to approve resolution 03202023-01, Village of Vicksburg, new municipal building, as read.
Trustee Reister, second.
They'll have the opportunity to make comments or questions right now before the vote. Yeah, if we can start with Carl.
Ken,
Had dinner with my family and cleaning up now. So, and this one, I mean, obviously, I can't vote on this because I'm not physically there. But just so everybody understands, this is something that we've been working on for, as Jim said, up to 6 years. This is going to take the village, past the 21st century, and I think it's awesome that we're going to be paying cash for this, which governmental entities just don't do that. And this is a big deal. Beyond that, it's going to be nice to have, that's my granddaughter. We're going to have village council meetings actually in our village hall at some point, which is going to be huge. We're not going to have them off campus anymore. So that's my 2 cents. I didn't hear that. What was that?
Your village president indicated your granddaughter can't vote either.
Well, she has an opinion.
All right, if you can mute, then Tim will move on, but you'll still be able to hear. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you.
So we have a motion, we have a support. We'll do a roll call, Mr. Wines.
Good.
Excuse me? I know, I'm just moving, I just want to push it along.
Do we?
Absolutely, yeah, we're open for comments from the council.
yeah, if I could, President Prisman.
Absolutely.
So I've been in the wings before I was ever on council, attending the meetings, starting back as late as 2016. I think I was attending pretty regularly. So I got to see this process start from the conceptual stage to today, and it's been really cool to watch. The stewardship, the practicality, the diligence that everybody's put into this process, putting the money aside, saving it in cash, not bonding it out. And as Steve even said, this is something that simply a municipality of our size does not do, has not done. This is a lifetime achievement for a lot of the folks involved in this project. And I mean, I'm coming in towards the tail end on my term, but I've had a good portion of support for it. I'm thankful for those that came to start this process, because it's something that we sorely need, and that's something we will, I see having a strong benefit to the community and the people that we serve. Moving forward after this project, as they've highlighted, we're going to continue to have funds that we will assign, that will have additional revenues, that will still impact all the other ways we can deliver to our constituents and the people here in the village. And that paying for this in cash serves us again in that long term for another $1.5 to $2 million in interest not paid, which is another $1.5 million to $2 million that are additional services we can provide 30 to 40 years in the future. It's a substantial benefit, and I really like where we've identified all of the monies, the diligence that's gone into it from all the teams involved, Frederick's Construction, Jim, all the village staff, and the support of the councils before us and current to get it to this point. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I think it's going to be a fantastic project. We couldn't have, I think, put together a better team to do it with a better fashion. So that's all for me.
Mr. Olson? Ms. Fields, any others?
You made my wife happy tonight because we're paying cash for this. She took the Dave Ramsey course and she's hardcore about it. If we can't pay cash for it, we don't need it. That's her opinion. When we bought our house in Vicksburg, we paid cash for it. When we bought her van, we paid cash for it. My van, cash. Everything that we purchase is cash. Because if we can't pay cash for it, we don't really need it. And we've needed this new village hall for years. And I remember when I first came to Vicksburg, you know, back in '66. Oh my God. Yeah, that's just, I remember starting at the middle school, you know, and I remember the village hall and the post office and everything else. And I look back on it today and I go, my God, how we survived. This is a project that has been needed, and we've found a course to take care of it, to pay for it. And every citizen of Vicksburg ought to be happy. We're not having to lay out bonds. And I see that Allegan is going to rebuild their downtown. They broke ground on that today. And they planned for 6 years for that thing. So, you know, why they can't budget their money to do these different projects, we're a rarity. And I think that a lot of communities are taking a look at us and need to take a look at us. So proud, I'll be glad when she's finished. Thank you.
Ms. Fields?
I think everybody's already said everything that needed to be said.
Why am I so nervous? It's good. You know what, right? We've been planning and planning, and the day is here. You know?
It's exciting.
You get to sign the check.
So we have a motion in front of us. We have a second. And Rick, would you like to comment on it prior to the?
Yes, I apologize for running a little late. Family commitments came up tonight unexpectedly. For those that are not aware, if the comments were shared already, Sunday evening, we spent 90 minutes as a finance committee going over this. And I can tell you that the degree of questions was deep, it was robust, and we explored all avenues. Jim was very forthcoming with information that we were asking. And really, I think really what it came down to for me and looking at this is that this is not a project that is anything that has been on my list of a necessity or a passion project. I understand that we have a old community or a village hall, but unlike some other council members where this is more important to them, it was really nothing pressing to me. But what I realized was, in talking with Jim about this over the years, is the reason why we need this. You know, all of the reasons why this made sense. And then last night as we were talking, Jim really did share, as Ryan alluded to, you know, where the funding was coming from, the final funding that we needed to get this across the finish line. And it was that final funding for me that I needed to be comfortable with. And I needed to really understand where are we getting this funds from, because the reality is this, folks, we are a small village. We only have so much money. And so we are taking some funds from other areas in order to pay for this. And so what I needed to feel comfortable with was, you know, how we were going to do that. And as it was explained to me, there are two things that I was looking at. One was that the village operations would not be impacted. And I felt good with the information that was provided. And I think the second thing is that looking at the revenue sources that we need in order to continue to maintain the level of services, and our capital budget and moving forward would be there as well. And so from that perspective, the reason why I'm voting yes, if I am allowed to vote, President Frisbee.
Yes.
Then I just wanted to let my fellow council members know there's nothing better than 90 minutes with both Tim and Jim and staff and Steve on a call on Sunday evening. But I want to let you know that the Finance Committee, I feel, did a really good job last night of digging into the details to make sure that we did have a robust conversation about it.
I think we just need to clarify the statement you made about funding coming from other sources. The last bit to put us over the finish line is 23-24 general fund. It's all been invested from the general fund. Sewer and water has not been impacted. Fire has not been impacted. DPW, our future planning for vehicles, that funding was untouched. So I just want to clarify that statement,
Yeah,
right?
right, yep.
All right.
I didn't mean to insinuate that it wasn't. I was just saying that it costs something, Tim. We got to find it somewhere, and so it is in future budgets. So.
Right. I just want that out there in case that could be misinterpreted that we rob Peter to pay Paul, and that's not the case, so. So we have a motion and a second. Front, barring any further conversation, we'll do a roll call. Mr. Wyans?
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Fields, Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. Amen. Thank you all. So I think we'll pass on trustees' time. I think we've addressed all that in president time and entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll take a 5-minute break before we start up our next meeting.
Yeah, we've posted on our social media that it'd start up at quarter after.
Trustee Wagner, so moved.
Trustee Fields, support?
Motion second. All those in
Thank you,
favor, say
Steve. We're all
aye.
set.
Aye.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks.
Meeting adjourned.
Start. 45 seconds.
Thank you all for being here tonight, and thank you for putting up with our delayed meeting, our long overrun meeting earlier. It was a fantastic meeting, so I'll call this meeting to order. Tonight's regular session Village Council is March 20, 2023, and if you'd all join me to say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, justice for all. Thank you all. We'll just take a moment of silence to gather our thoughts. Mr. Wines, when you're ready, would you do roll call, please?
Trustee Fields.
Here.
Trustee Holmes.
Here.
Trustee Reister.
Here.
Trustee Wagner.
Here.
Trustee Olson.
Here.
President Frisbee.
Here. So we have an agenda in front of us, a couple of last minute additions and corrections. So I'd like to add to 9E, the ZBA board in reference to apple knockers. And also 9F, Planning Commission recommendation. Does this council have any other additions they'd like to put on there? Hearing none, staff is good.
No, we're good with those two additions.
All right, so we have an agenda, revised agenda, and what's this council's desire?
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Motion made by trustee Holmes,
Support.
support trustee Reister. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. We have an agenda in front of us. Jim, there's no scheduled public officials.
No, sir.
Now is time for citizen comments for agenda items only. If you'd like to address the podium and state your name and address, please.
Rebecca Walters, 420 South Kalamazoo Ave, Vicksburg. I wanted to make a couple comments about amazing job with the new building, but with the Berg Days, I saw at the Planning Commission meeting that you guys are planning to pay DPW overtime to clean up the mess after the Vicksburg Days for every Wednesday from like June 14th to August something. Has anyone monetized that into a dollar amount on what that's going to cost us with the overtime that it's going to take? Or is there a way that we can find to do this without having to pay a substantial amount of money for that? And then also, do we not find it at all excessive every single Wednesday in summer to be, blowing our town up? Granted, it's great for business, but what about the residents? We already hear Vickers until 2 o'clock in the morning on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, between karaoke, bike night. We hear the Hideaway. And I'm on Kalamazoo Ave, right past the administration building, and anytime there's an event in Vicksburg, while it's lovely, it's glorious, and I'm willing to give up my peaceful weekends for these chaotic weekends of overflowing the streets, that's fine every once in a while, but every single Wednesday that we have to deal with this during the summer. Has anyone looked into DUIs, drinking? I mean, the last time that there was an event uptown and you guys closed off the street, I think I saw at least 4 parents enjoy themselves quite a few couple beers and then get in their vehicles with their little ones while cops were just standing there and did nothing about it. So if we can look into different things about this between the finances of cleaning it up and then maybe figuring out a way to not do this every single Wednesday, to follow the Thursday, the Fridays, and the Saturdays that we hear in town during the summer as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Walters. Any other comments? Hearing none, we have no scheduled appearances. We have a general consent agenda. It's our minutes of our regular council meeting, March 6, 2023. We have warrant reports totaling $122,130.01. An event request for Maria Cook's graduation party, June 25th at the Pavilion, and South County Community Services Easter Egg Hunt, April 8, 2023 at the Pavilion. Was there any corrections or entertain a motion to approve?
Trustee Fields, move to approve.
Trustee Wagner, support.
Motion made by trustee Fields, support by trustee Wagner. We do a roll call, please, Christian?
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes.
President Frisbee, under 9E, that was we would need a motion for ZBA hearing support.
I even have my notes here, Jim. I wrote it down. Yeah. Would that not be an action item, council action item?
It's a separate, because in the village, you are the ZBA as well as the council. If we have a motion to enter into the ZBA, a second, a roll call vote, then you will enter into the ZBA, and Kyle Mucha will talk about apple knockers.
Absolutely. I stand corrected. So
And then
entertain a
once
motion.
that's done, you will come out with the same motion, support, and roll call vote to come out of that and back to your council meeting.
Entertain a motion to go into a ZBA session.
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Reister. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. ZBA board now in action.
Yeah, what we had, and we've worked with the Hostetler family on apple knockers. It's a unique situation to small government. If and I'll say on the Prairie Street side, where currently they have an overhang that covers a seating area. The essence of their request is to enclose that for an enclosed space. And you look at antiquated ordinances of the village, one of them being you can't have a structure within 100 feet of water, a body of water, which there's in excess. We know the exact number. It's hundreds. It's over 100 for sure. Structures that are certainly closer than 100 feet. So we had the village attorney look into this issue to create does it need a variance, these type of questions. Andrew Horn looked into the issue and supports Hostetler's request, and it's documented. And then we also enlisted the services of McKenna Associates with Kyle Mucha to look in this issue. He's well versed. You've met Kyle before, so without the introduction of all the degrees and his experience, I'll turn it over to Kyle to be able to explain it. And at the end of that, I'll come back to let you know staff is supporting Hostetler's request, and it will require a vote of the council. Thank you. I will mention that this was published in the paper as well as certified letters went to the addresses within 300 feet.
I feel like Jim should go to Florida more often. He gets me all these nice accolades before I come up here. You know, maybe we should send them off a little further. So as Jim mentioned, this is a variance request to seek relief from section 475-116 of our village zoning ordinance. Currently, there are 118 parcels within the village itself that are within 100 feet of a water body. We do not have the data available currently to determine how many structures that would be of those parcels, but of land itself, there are 118 within the village boundaries that abut or are within 100 feet of a high water line. So as you have in front of you with the report, the applicants are seeking a variance request from section 475-116, which states that any building constructed on a lot abutting a lake, pond, stream, or river shall be set back at least 100 feet from the high water line. The applicants are seeking relief for the following properties: 220 West Prairie Street, 300 West Prairie Street, and 100 North Mill Street. And as Mr. Mallory mentioned, this is to facilitate at 220 West Prairie Street an expansion of their building, which does require site plan review, and that's a separate entity that we'll deal with. At 300 West Prairie Street, the applicant has indicated their intent is to utilize that for additional commercial space, and then 100 North Mill Street as well for additional commercial space as it relates to the Apple Knockers operation. As Mr. Mallory stated, under state law, under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, we have to publish a notification at least 15 days prior to a public hearing within all properties within 300 feet. I have not been appraised if we've received any written comment back, but that was published in the, we did not. So it goes out by snail mail, and also the act requires a publication in a local paper of general circulation, which would be potentially the Kalamazoo Gazette around here. So the variance request summary, again, as we already stated, is following. An 80-foot setback, and I'll bear with me, but I want to let everyone else here know kind of what this is about too. An 80-foot setback variance from the 100-foot requirement in order to permit construction within 20 feet of the high water mark for the property at 220 West Prairie Street. This is in a desire to expand storage and kitchen space at this site. This is the actual Apple Knockers building itself. A 63-foot setback variance from the 100-foot requirement in order to permit construction within 37 feet of the high water mark for the property at 300 West Prairie Street. Applicant desires to expand the existing structure to permit additional storage for the commercial use at 220 West Prairie. And then their third request is a 65-foot setback variance from the 100-foot requirement in order to permit construction within 35 feet of the high water mark for the property at 100 North Mill Street. The applicant desires to expand the building footprint in conjunction with business expansions at 220 West Prairie Street. Existing site conditions overall, 220 we found 220 West Prairie Street is approximately 0.24 acres in size and is approved with a commercial building and associated parking lot. 300 West Prairie is approximately 0.28 acres in size and is approved with a two-story, what we call former residential dwelling, even though it is now commercial use. And then 100 North Mill Street is estimated at 0.25 acres in size and has access to the public roadway via a 10-foot wide single-lane gravel drive and is improved with a single-story structure. So standards for variance approval. Some ordinances will actually spell out what is required to have a variance approved. The Village of Vicksburg does not, so we then instead rely on these 4 categories within here. These categories are used across the state and other municipalities as well. So this is where these standards come from. They do not come from our own village ordinance, but through a general practice across the state. Number 1, strict compliance with the standard would unreasonably prevent the landowner from using the property for a permitted use or would render conformity necessarily burdensome. We find that 220 West Prairie Street is an estimated 118 feet in width at its widest point, and therefore a 100-foot requirement from section 475-116 would only provide roughly a building envelope at its widest point of 18 feet, thus in essence turning this parcel into a non-buildable lot. The applicant has indicated again the desire to expand the structures on there to increase the commercial space and their activities. Number 2, the variance will do substantial justice to the applicant as well as other property owners. We do not anticipate that by granting this variance, it will greatly impact neighboring properties. Should the variance request for the 3 subject properties be approved, substantial justice to the applicant would be granted due to the severe limitations the current ordinance imposes on the parcels itself. Our third standard, a lesser variance than requested would not give substantial relief to the applicant or be consistent with justice to other property owners. We found a lesser variance than requested would not provide substantial relief to the applicant due to the location of the subject buildings in relation to water's edge. And what we mean by that is these buildings are already in existence. The applicant has indicated their desire to rehab them, add on additions to them. So therefore, having a lesser variance would not get them the relief that they are seeking. And then number 4, the problem resulting for the need for the variance has not been self-created by the applicant or the applicant's predecessors. We find this to be somewhat true. The applicant could still use the properties in their current form for commercial activities. So therefore, it is a self-created hardship in that regard because they want to expand the buildings. Expansion does require meeting current ordinance regulations. So that is why in our review, we do find this to be a self-created hardship because it is, they don't need it to still utilize the properties that are currently in existence. Our staff findings. Subject to any additional information presented and discussed by the applicant, board, and/or the public during the public hearing and incorporated into the record prior to any findings being made, we recommend that the Zoning Board of Appeals approve the requested dimensional variances for the properties located at 220 West Prairie Street, 300 West Prairie Street, and 100 North Mill Streets. Our recommendations are based on the following findings of facts. The need for this variance is self-created. The applicant does not need to build new structures on the subject site to achieve a reasonable use of the subject properties. Reasonable use being that they can still function as they currently are, that being a reasonable use. 2, the buildings were constructed prior to the adoption of the zoning ordinance regulations as it pertains to section 475-116, meaning those buildings were in existence, had been erected prior to this new regulation coming in. 3, compliance with the setback requirements will likely result in 220 West Prairie Street and 100 North Mill Street being classified as non-buildable lots, meaning that they cannot meet that 100-foot requirement. Therefore, a building permit could not be issued from a zoning standpoint only because they cannot meet those setback requirements. Approval of the variance is not adverse to the interests of the neighboring property owners. The applicant could construct building additions further from the water's edge. However, the request seems to be reasonable given the siting of the existing structures on the property. Number 6, parcels at 220 West Prairie and 100 North Mills are non-conforming due to their limited width and proximity to the lake or pond, as it directly relates to the regulations outlined in section 475-116 of the Village Zoning Ordinance. Further, should the Zoning Board of Appeals grant the variance request, we recommend that the following condition be applied to the approval. The subject sites at 220 West Prairie, 300 West Prairie, 100 North Mills receive building occupancy permits within 12 months of the effect of the variance being vested. If the applicant fails to meet all village requirements and construct in a manner that complies with the granted variance, this decision shall be voided. And what we mean by this is that they have 1 year to achieve this. That is typical standard across a lot of ordinances. Should they not commence construction or receive a building occupancy, they would need to come back for another variance because they have let too much time elapse. Ms. Mallory?
So, I appreciate all the work that went into this, and really what we were motivated by is our commitment to follow the rules. We have this ordinance. We know it's antiquated. That will be dealt with in this calendar year, but we felt we would still invest the money with village attorney as well as McKenna to have them make sure we're on sound ground, which both came back that this variance should be supported, and they've articulated the reasons why. So be happy to answer any questions, but staff would recommend a motion in support to allow Apple Knockers to move forward with the variance of that 100-foot next to the pond there.
I do have a question. I'm wondering, are they looking into, when they're going to do this, are they looking into getting more parking area for that property?
That didn't come up in our conversation. I do know they have future plans, but those future plans would all require engineered drawings and site plans that would start going through the process again. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and that was my next question was, considering that we're having this variance requested for all three of the parcels that are adjacent for the same property owner, are we expecting to see a future presentation for other property improvements after this?
There's that
if it's
potential.
approved?
So what, it's a good point, it's why all three properties would be impacted by that same 100-foot rule, so we can clarify that. But we've given no go-ahead on any of the discussions of future development of that property, and they're well aware, and they're well behind the Vicksburg, and they'll have those engineering drawings if they make that decision to move forward. One of those projects was awarded in the property improvement for public benefit grant process. So they do have $15,000 of DDA money, but they have to have the building permits, they have to have site plan review, they have to have engineered drawings, so.
I do have one more question. So really what we're talking about right now is that addition onto the building that they're using right now. That's
it.
basically what
That's
we're
the
talking
only
about.
addition, or, basically they're gonna enclose those walls, put a proper roof, and have more storage in the main Apple Knockers building.
Thank you.
Yes, I would like to ask you to represent the planning commission on this.
That's exactly what I was going to do. I just thought I'd share the trustees that at last week's planning commission meeting, we did discuss this in great detail. The vote, I believe, was 6-1. I believe it was 6.
Unanimous?
No. Yeah, 6-1 approving it. And, but again, Kyle did a great job last week of really going into a lot of detail, explaining it to us. There was a fair number of questions, actually, that, the level of experience that we have on the planning commission. There's a great deal of questions about ordinances and state laws as it related to this. And the one person who dissented did not explain why they did. I won't go into believing why they did, but again, it was approved by the planning commission.
If I can add to that, the vote of 6-1, the one made comments about setting a precedent. The attorney did explain to the group, and I would share the village attorney's, all actions on variance request are individual actions and do not set any precedent. It's an independent that goes in front of each of those issues. So, but we certainly respect that member's opinion, but it was an overwhelming majority supported it.
Was there a letter from our municipal attorney
Yes,
in favor?
presented to the planning commission at the request. First, this went to the planning commission 2 meetings ago for a discussion, and part of that discussion, a couple members made comments wanting that, and we supplied that, so.
Well, just the ones I've been involved in on the variance request always had a site plan review in front of it. Is this, Mr. Mucha, is this typical to ask for a zoning variance without a formal site plan review?
The application came before us because a site plan was submitted. During our site plan review and our due diligence on this, it was noted that that provision came up. So at that point, that's when the site plan review was paused, and then the applicant was advised to seek a variance from this. Without a variance at that time, administrative approval was not permitted.
So the site plan will be the next, that we can now accept the site plan because they've received that variance.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you. Any further discussion? What is this zoning board authority's desire and request to variance setback request? Is there an official, we refer to it in the section, or? Is there-
One of the procedural things we want to make sure that we check the box in, Mr. Frisbee, is that at this point, we would recommend having a motion, a support, a roll call vote for public hearing comments from citizens, and then allow people in the audience, if they wish to make comments on this issue, to make those comments.
Now would be the time to do that.
Now would be the time for someone to make a motion and then have a support to open a public hearing to receive public comments and allow the people in the audience, if they wish to make a comment, to do so.
Trustee Wagner, I move to approve open hearing for public comments in the ZBA.
Trustee Fields, I support.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Fields. You said we need to do a roll call or voice?
Roll call, please.
A roll call, please, Mr. Wines.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, so it is official. We will open it up to citizens' comments at this time in regards to this zoning request.
Certainly.
See,
Rebecca Walters, 420 South Kalamazoo Ave. Hello again. I would like to say that I'm all for it. I'm usually reserved about trying to change zones and stuff, as you guys have heard in the past. But I have seen so many employees have to stop what they're doing, go out, lug the jug of ice cream back into the building, and then go and start continuing to help the long line that goes out. I think that they should be given this change, and that going forward with their plans, with how much that they do for our community, how many times you can see kids pretending to be pirates with their ice cream and the blue face all over the place. We should give them a little bit of leniency with that, as long as we just make sure we're watching the water pollution with the ground in their parking lot.
so I would recommend, if the council is so willing to make a motion, that we make a resolution to approve the variance.
We'll go ahead and make a motion and second. It's a little bit like state and federal government tonight, Mr. Frisbee.
Where's my
I'm
right
even,
hand guy?
I might as well confess
Is
now.
Carl-
Regular attendees might have recognized when Mallory puts his sports coat on at this tenure of his professional life, something big's going on. So I bring in all these people to whisper in my ear because of procedural type things. So we need a
We
motion
need a motion. to close.
and a second to close the public hearing, as everyone indicated they were good with not speaking.
Member Wagner, I move to close the public hearings portion of the meeting.
Trustee Reister, support.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Reesner. We'll do a roll call just to be safe. Mr. Wines?
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Fields, President Frisbee.
Yes. We may resume our,
You're now in the ZBA portion, of which now council, or in this manner ZBA members, which you are in this case, can have a conversation about what was presented. You will make a motion in support and finish your conversation and take a roll call vote on the issue in the ZBA, which is the variance request. And again, staff is recommending approval of that.
any further comments or questions by the council?
I think we need a motion first, don't we?
We would recommend a motion in support of the variance request as presented, with support and a roll call vote.
Member Wagner, I move to support the variance request as submit.
Trustee Holmes, I second.
Trustee Wagner's motion, Holmes support. Do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes.
And that passes. Now we'll ask for,
A motion.
when the applause
A motion to
close
close
down,
down.
we'll need a motion, a support, and a roll call to close the ZBA.
Member Wagner, I move that we close the ZBA portion of the meeting.
Holmes, second.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, supported by trustee Holmes. Do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Fields, Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Do we need to make another motion to move back into? regular council session meeting?
I'm nervous because my mother's watching in Florida, and I'm sure I'm going to have a call with lots of questions of
Yeah,
this.
I thought Carl would be proud I used member while we were in the ZBA.
That's
Yeah,
You,
I was trying.
It usually kicks me and leans in my ear.
so we're back in the regular council meeting at agenda item 9F.
Blankenhorn, who is a village resident, longtime family resident, who owned as a business owner onto the Planning Commission and DDA. So looking for a motion of support for that placement.
Trustee Fields, I support.
Holmes, I second.
Motion made by trustee Fields, support by Mr. Holmes. All those in favor say aye. Would you like comments, please?
Thank you, President Frisbee. Just as a point of discussion on Rachel Plankenhorn and her qualifications, she is also a very active member and board member of the Chamber of Commerce, has been very participative in revitalizing that entity, getting more activity downtown, supporting the local businesses. I think it's a great idea, especially with her commitments to being a business operator, owner within town with those other commitments, that she's going to be doing a great job on the Planning Commission, DDA, I think, and also could help as a bit of a liaison between the two as well with that increased activity. So I think it's a perfect appointment.
Yeah, she lives downtown as well.
President Frisbee, if I could add, I would echo Ryan's comments. I think she's going to bring a fresh perspective in being a downtown business owner to the Planning Commission. And it's always nice getting someone that's half my age also that's on the Planning Commission. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing it up, Ryan. She's an active, one of those young guns I'll refer to on the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm pretty excited to have her as part of the, if you allow it, I'll entertain a motion of support for placing Rachel Plankenhorn on the Planning Commission.
go.
Trustee Holmes, I make a recommendation, Rachel Plankenhorn be the next committee member on the Planning Commission.
Reister, support.
Trustee Holmes' motion, support by trustee Reister. We'll do a voice call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you all. So that leads us to more council action items.
See how fast you can do this,
Here we go.
Mr. Manager.
Fasten your seatbelts. First issue at 10A is reference our 2023-2024 fiscal year budget. Before I get into 10A and 10B, I often do not make comments, but I think Rebecca brings up valid questions. So if I think over the course of time in our conversations, we both acknowledge that not always in agreement. I think more often than not we are. But I certainly respect Rebecca quite a bit in her opinion, and hopefully she understands that my answers, though sometimes she might not agree with them, I've never hid anything. So we did look at quite a bit of this. I do have the dollar amount for DPW overtime. Reference to cleanup, we have to have DPW staff in anyway, because on any event we have downtown, the public might have noticed, we not only simply put barricades up, but with the society we live in, thank goodness not in Vicksburg, but we have heavy equipment that protects all those entryways that we move streets to walkable hangout civilian areas, or citizen areas. So we're going to have 2 DPW staff members there, and to be able barricade moves, heavy equipment moves, the pickup trucks in that. The cleanup, we will, and let me kind of the framework of this. We know the tremendous impact, as you mentioned, the events have on our businesses. one of the key in all of the survey instruments for my tenure as village manager, and I believe even before that, because it's quite standard, is we need a core downtown that has I'll use the word legitimacy, reasons for people to come downtown for long-term viability and growth within our village. And so, quick, respecting the time, but the whole downtown concept of widening our sidewalks 15 feet, having the one-way, was to have our village have an opportunity to hold events. And to have it done in a safe manner if we took the traffic out. So then we looked at what is successful. We know when events take place, our retail establishments, our restaurants, and such are very positively impacted. We know in the recent events, and traditionally, and I've been here not as long as some, but I go back to the last century, I like to tell people. So we, we have the Vicksburg Car Show. I'm very proud of it and that impact that we have. But these other events throughout the year give these businesses that survivability. And one of the things that I don't talk about often, but am proud of, is we're a community, as many others, that faced a pandemic, and then due to the timing out of our control, the following year tore up the entire downtown. Thank goodness we have an outstanding community foundation where we were able to provide grant opportunities to help out our local businesses. We had and after that, a citizen anonymously and very passionately, did not want to be known, and we've honored that, provided $7,500. And what that leads to is, during that time and tenure, the loss of only one downtown business, which in talking to that ownership wasn't impacted by those variables. So we're holding our retail, we're holding reasons to come downtown. And what has really increased is contacts to the village of Vicksburg on developers and investors looking for particular space. And we're really in that situation right now of available space to become part of Vicksburg. We want that to continue. So we did. We had an internal discussion. I went up. Holland has an every Thursday event throughout the summer that over the course of the last 7 years has truly grown quite a bit. Montague has a Saturday event, and talking to different municipal leaders in this area, a consistent message was relayed. If you're going to do this, you need to do it every Wednesday. Don't do it the third Thursday, the fourth Friday, the first Monday. What you want to do is create an environment within 45 minutes of a population within 45 minutes that is in excess of 275,000 people, and we only need 1 to 4% of that population to come to our town. The goal is that people this summer, and as this is marketed and people participate in it, will know, I'm not quite sure what's going on specifically, but I know there's going to be music, there's going to be food trucks of different varieties, there's going to be, because it's completely designed as a family activity, and I'll get into the hours here in a minute. So one component is all around Oswald Park will be dedicated to kids. We've received bids from companies reference inflatable obstacle courses for under 3-year-olds, bouncy land things, and so we have 3 large inflatable kids' fun activities around Oswald Park. We have a commitment and gracious that the Vicksburg Land Company will allow the Cultural Arts Center to do kids and family hands-on arts and crafts in the building next to Mackenzie's. That will go on each Wednesday. We then looked at a component. We have incredible nonprofit agencies that specifically serve Village of Vicksburg residents. And we don't do enough, I don't do enough for sure when I have the microphone, but one, South County Community Services is incredible. And so we looked at, okay, let's provide an opportunity for a nonprofit each Wednesday, just one, to be able to get money, fundraise, that then they can sustain and possibly add to their programming within the Village of Vicksburg. So you'll see events like we have secured from a company, and I'll count on John to, if I say this wrong, I believe it's the disco, is it Death Disco? Blind? It's Silent Disco, which you might react like I did the first. However, we're going to, part of the grant funding will pay for this equipment so you can put up to 80 or whatever 107 fits. They put on headphones, and each person participating is listening to a different type of music. So I might be listening to the Tennessee Waltz, Michelle's listening to rap, Scott's listening to country, Christian in his generation of new wave something or other will be on. Doc's going to be listening to the blues, and everyone will be dancing, and people will be watching, and it's just a good time. So then whatever the price point is that people will pay, the grant pays for the equipment, that nonprofit will staff it, and they get all the profit. As many people have fun. They know their money is going for a nonprofit. So you have the Lions Club. South County is going to get multiple dates, but you have the Lions and Rotary and on there. So we looked at that component. Now specific to the questions of noise and impact on the daily occurrence in the Village of Vicksburg. So the goal is, and I feel passionately that government's role is to create a reason for people, if they're just curious, to come to Vicksburg. It's the private sectors and these businesses to create the reason to come back. It's the product, the service, and that will get these people to come back in the weekends and such, and really, really grow our downtown. But we want to do it in a responsible way. And I'll start out with saying all of these exercises are going to be a learning work in process, and we have internal mechanisms that all of these events are reviewed after internally. What can we improve upon? An example, I thought 15 or 18 extra trash cans would certainly be enough for any event we have with the X number of permanent. We learned that wasn't the case. So we upped it to 30 some. We learned that not a good number. So we now are up in the upper 40s that we'll set out. We also learned from Family Fair, that's fine. We'll put out a bunch of trash cans there. And the efficiency, when you have those two DPW crew workers, I'm there quite often. Scott's at the event, and we have extra policing. It's a team effort. I mean, I've had Mr. Frisbee carrying picnic tables to clean it up. Part of the responsibility. We don't want to wait to the next morning. We've learned we want people the next morning to not even know an event took place by observation. So we look at safety, and I kind of talked about the design to ensure that we can make this area as safe as possible for people to hang out in, and we'll do that. On I'm a data person. I lived a career based on evidence. You have evidence, and that's your data points, and you study it and you improve it. So we've had the social district now going into our third year with a pause on doing it. And the fact and evidence is we have not had one alcohol related incident. If I can finish, we have not had factually an alcohol related incident that anyone can put evidence front that has taken place that can correlate back to the social district. But we want to quantify data, and we started to look at other bigger municipalities, Kalamazoo, and I've mentioned it before, Port Huron, and other larger communities with social district. And what the data is demonstrating, and this data is being kind of, probably not formally, but because there's a sunset on this legislation in the end of 24. Already there's movement within municipalities to lobby the legislation that this should be permanent, that we don't have. It's a huge economic impact on a community. It will go to these businesses' survival, and so those things are being looked at. I would encourage anyone who sees anyone they feel is intoxicated getting in a car with kids to give us a call. We haven't received one of those calls. No one has called our police department and said that car was with a drunk driver with kids in it. Because if that call happens, I assure everyone in this room, led by Chief Sanderson, our police department will respond. They do not do nothing. They protect this community, and I'm proud of all 6 of them. And that's just a fact. We haven't received a call. And it's on the citizen who observed it that didn't call. They need to take some ownership in what they observed. Now on the, so that's the concept. And on the every Wednesday, in family and noise and in that,
What's the time element?
is here it is. I'll reverse it. It's a hard end at 8:30. Hard end. It's in the contracts with 18 performers that we've already signed. They'll stop at 8:15. There will be absolutely no music at all after 8:30. Food trucks are to, no matter if they have 10 people, they know it's 8:30, everything starts to get moved out. They have 1 hour, pack up their gear and move out. This will coordinate. If anyone was at the Iceberg Festival, and again, this is now 7 events into this, we've kind of learned a system on how we open up streets again and get people safely out of town. So the event is from 5:15 to 8:30. That's it. And we move on. We're not having it the July 4th week. So why we're doing it every Wednesday is because it's been proven in other municipalities you have to have weekly consistency if it's going to truly make an impact on your businesses. Safety, we not only have barriers, we have equipment that's done by DPW, we have overtime staff that's going to be here. That's part of the services that the taxpayers' money is utilized to provide those services with DPW and policing. And our data is huge impact on businesses. It's run safe family events. It's designed completely for a family. Bring your kids down here. You're going to have kids activities, hands-on activities, and it's a whole community. When you get Vicksburg Cultural Arts involved, you get these nonprofits involved, the business owners are involved. We're really looking at it being very impactful in a positive way for our community. So I'll pause there if there's questions on the design of it. But the two actions specific to the council tonight under 10A is, and this both went in front of the Planning Commission, DDA last week, received unanimous support from them, from that group, is in the 23-24 fiscal year budget. We're recommending a motion support and approval for $15,000 of the 2023-2024 fiscal year DDA revenue to be budgeted for the Berg Days of Summer programming on Wednesday nights. Planning Commission and DDA Board unanimously support and approve this request. It will be matched by $20,000 grant that has been approved by the Vicksburg Foundation for the same programming. I will note we have also received an additional $1,000 commitment from a Kalamazoo agency for this programming, and we are submitting a grant on behalf of the cultural arts to get this total budget up to $40,000. Reason we did that and are thankful to the foundation is the businesses of our community are asked an incredible amount of times to sponsor Little League, Rocket Football, all the events. We wanted to do this programming, especially in year one, without soliciting funds from the businesses we want to positively impact. So our recommendation on 10A is motion, support, and approval.
Thanks, Jim, for that clarity. There are questions of staff on this regard? So we have a request in front of us for a motion, support, and approval of $15,000 of full year DDA money 23-24. What's this council's desire?
Trustee Wagner, I move to approve.
Trustee Reister, support.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Reister. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Fields,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. We have a
10B is a continuation into the second year to continue the property improvement for public benefit grant program through the DDA. DDA did unanimously support this. We have received an approved commitment from the Vicksburg Foundation for matching funds. The request in front of the council and staff is recommending a motion, support, and approval for $18,000 of the 23-24 fiscal year DDA revenue to be budgeted for the continuation of the property improvement for public benefit grant program. This will be matched by an $18,000 grant that has been approved and committed by the Vicksburg Foundation if we receive support tonight.
Any questions for staff in this regard?
President Frisbee?
Yes.
I'd just like to point back out to the council that this is the continuation of the grant that last year gave us such things as the Jasper's improvements for the roll-up door, the hideaway front access window at the front of the property. There's a mural, and among other things. I mean, it was a list of, I believe, 10 businesses that benefit from it. So again, more great opportunities to continue to improve the facades, the accessibility, the attractiveness, and the capabilities of our downtown businesses.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to add, at the Planning Commission last week, Rudy Callan from the foundation was there, which was really neat to see. And the $38,000 that they are committing to the village, he was there to show his support for it. So just wanted to let you know Rudy was in attendance last week.
That prompts me, the guy that was dancing to the blues. He's part of the foundation board. If you want to say a few words, sure. And if we can, we're live streaming, going to make you famous. So if you can come up here and use this mic, then I don't know how many thousand are watching tonight, but
I can't speak for the entire foundation, but I must tell you that we really enjoy when we get grant requests for things where we network multiple assets. The grant request for the Berg nights, I think we probably had over a dozen letters attached from business owners, and then when we see working with the arts council as well. We didn't even know about your nonprofit things, but when we can, you know, we've got a community, and when we see people network as a community, that really gets us excited. And, you know, we'll certainly want to hear back how successful it was, and the impact that it's had on the community, both positive and negative. But we really love to partner with things, and Jim has a way of prying money away from us, and it's very exciting to be able to do that and to make use of all the hard work that was done on infrastructure, which is just grunt work and hard work and not sexy work. And now you can take advantage of all that infrastructure that you've done. And that's really exciting. So I know that all the foundation members, without hesitation, supported the 2 grant requests and are really happy to do those things that might seem extra, that you wonder, should government spend some money on a bounce house? Well, you're not. We'll spend it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schremer.
Dr. Schremer.
I absolutely, if I may, you know, we are so fortunate and blessed to have the Vicksburg Foundation. And what I find so rewarding is we're not asking them to bail us out, right? That we're not asking for a new payment on a backhoe. So moving where we were 7 years ago to today, where the foundation is engaging with us for exciting things in this community, and that support is very rewarding. So thank you.
No. Prize a new word. But it is, you said a great point, because what help they did, and I'm sure Doc would confirm, when we asked for that, part of our messaging was, we're going to swing this teeter-totter that we don't have to ask for hard assets anymore. And we've seen that now in these 2 grant requests.
So we have us in front of us a recommendation, a motion of support for $18,000 for the full year 2023-2024 DDA budget to be continuation of property improvement for the public benefit grant program. So what is this council's desire?
Trustee Wagner, I move to approve.
Trustee Fields, I support.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Fields. We'll do a roll call, please, Christian.
Trustee Olson,
Yes.
Trustee Holmes,
Yes.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
Trustee Wagner,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. 10C is purchase of a 2023 Dodge Durango police cruiser. It's $42,545 purchased through the M Deals, which is the guaranteed lowest price. To also fully outfit the vehicle with police radio, security barrier, etc., is an additional $11,158.90. That'll be all outfitted potentially locally. Total to need will not exceed $53,705. The Dodge Durango is less expensive than the Ford Explorer. Main 3 police vehicles that are available to police departments were tested extensively, and the Durango was rated higher. Staff is recommending a motion support and approval for the village manager to enter into contracts to purchase and outfit a 2023 Dodge Durango police package in the amount not to exceed $53,705. The amount will come from saved CIP money.
Just another example of the diligence with this staff and this council in front of us by, you know, having this money ready and NCIP being saved in anticipation of this. So any questions of staff or comments?
That's just another thing, like you said, President Frisbee, we talk about this money every time we assign it each year when we do assignments and commitments. This is just another expense out of those assignments. So.
Correct.
So we have a request from staff in front of us for the purchase of a 2023 Dodge Durango police cruiser. What is this council's desire?
Trustee Holmes, motion that we approve funding for the new police cruiser.
Trustee Reister, support.
Motion made by trustee Holmes, supported by trustee Reister. Do a roll call, please, Kristen.
Trustee Fields,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Holmes,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. We have a resolution in front of us for application for commercial rehabilitation. You speech therapist, you. I need your help. We'll let Jim get a minute to speak to this if you.
Correct. This is just a procedural thing. On April 18th, 2022, the village council unanimously supported this. We did a roll call vote, and we received back from Michigan Treasury that they would rather have it on a resolution. So this is a dot I cross T's at the request of Treasury. We're recommending a motion in support of the resolution in front of you. I believe the number's 03202023-2 -02.
Yeah,
So-
as you may recognize, this has been in front of us before, and as Jim explained, we just needed to do it via resolution. Point of order, so.
Trustee Wagner, I move that we approve Resolution 03202023-02, application for commercial rehabilitation exemption certificate from Vicksburg Land Company, LLC.
Holmes, I second.
Motion made by trustee Wagner, support by trustee Holmes. We'll do a roll call, please, Kristen.
Trustee Reister,
Yes.
trustee Fields, trustee Olson,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Holmes,
Yes.
President Frisbee.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. That moves us on to Mr. Manager report.
Yes, under that, just two items, and the foundation knows, but we, very unique to a village our size, secured $500,000 of grant funds, $350,000 the county approved us to use of their ARPA money, and the Vicksburg Foundation committed $150,000 to create a grant opportunity to impact people who truly need it based on a poverty level of owner-occupied houses based on energy efficiency, safety, and accessibility. We have worked, I think I introduced Chuck Valik before, who's retired out of list, asked him to come out of the bullpen and help us. He did this for an entire career, so he's been instrumental. We also partnered with Drew Johnson at South Kalamazoo County Services, and the application Drew drafted, we internalized, made sure it met all the requirements of the grant, and that application has been sent to, it's either 20 or 26 eligible residents in the village, and follow-up personal contact is being made to let them know this is legitimately from the government, and we will usher them through that process with the hopes of having those to evaluate the month of May and be impacting people in this construction season. So I wanted to let the council know that that is moving forward. And then the last thing is the drainage pipe. It was an add-on, reference Clark Park around the kids' play structures and that. So this week, I was not down there today, but this week I'm told Milbacher will be in town installing that drainage. So hopefully we see that area stays dry a little bit longer based on their recommendations. So I wanted the council to know that. Be happy to answer any questions.
President Frisbee?
Sir.
Yeah, I stopped down to the park today and talked to the construction workers. I used to install drain fields back in the, 70s. So I learned a few things that the pipe especially that they're using is totally different than I used eons ago. And it looks like a solid pipe. It's not. It is a perforated pipe. It has basically a sock over it and a tarp type material was laid into the ditch. The pipe was laid in, and then it was the gravel was put in, and it was then had the pipe laid in and then covered with gravel again, and then the dirt was put over the top. And they were doing like a big horseshoe. I believe it's going to help a lot. I was pretty impressed by what I was seeing. And they were making headway. In fact, when I drove past again this afternoon, I think they had it probably about 3/4 done. So if you see anything, it's just going to be a big horseshoe-shaped dirt, and that'd be about it. So, yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Olson. That was it, Jim? Thank you very much. Was there move on to committee reports? Was there a Park and Recs meeting?
We have our next meeting Monday night, this coming next Monday, week from tonight.
I did make some notes from Kat, so at last meeting I was neglecting talking about it, but I'll just quick update on the state funding for CATS, and is flat, but it's a positive for them. There are a lot of communities that have lost money. It's all Act 51 money went more towards urban areas of Michigan than the rural areas. But one of the things that was interesting was the road authority has no ability to tax. Their only revenue, they don't bond any of it out. It all comes from the gas tax. So the questions about electric vehicles came up. You know, how is the state going to handle that as the popularity moves on? But some of the things in front of them. Their independent audit report for their year-end close, there was no comments either in their audit, so it was good shape. Planning Commission.
We pretty much covered, I would say, all the items that were covered last week. Jim, anything else?
Nope. Sewer meeting is next week. And did Mr. Keller hang on through this whole?
He had a commitment to be a grandpa.
Yeah. Well, let me, I'll just recap what he had sent me about the meeting in case he couldn't be on. So as we discussed, there was a resolution to purchase a new tanker truck. It's been tabled until the authority finances can be gone over and by an outside source. It is the intent after it is done, it will be reported back to each entity as the results. There should be a resolution next month to change the bylaws to allow an alternate for each entity on the board to vote. As it is now, if I were on the board, well, Carl's on the board, if he couldn't be there, his alternate cannot have a vote. So we all felt that needed to be changed. So there was discussion about hazmat plans, and the authority knew what happened to the train derailment in Ohio. So the chief said he's trying to work with some local and public and ambulance services to put a plan together. He said they were as prepared as they could be. And then, of course, there was discussion about the cost of hazmat recovery and et cetera. So that was the updates that Carl had for us in regards to the fire. So I think that wraps up committee reports. Now we'll move on to citizen comments for non-agenda items. If there's anything on your mind you'd like to state.
Rebecca Walters, 420 South Kalamazoo, Vicksburg, or Kalamazoo Ave, Vicksburg. In the matter of the police department, I have no doubt that you have full faith in them, but as a couple residents in Vicksburg, there are a handful of people who are lacking the faith in our police, especially when you drive down the road and behind a police cruiser who watches vehicles drive on the sidewalks while it is 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning. Kids are walking to school right in front of Main Street Pub. When you've made it known to them multiple times that they've got no problems driving on the sidewalks, mind you, not even 3 days after they were put in, after we waited how many years to get the sidewalks updated. And it's been addressed multiple times. Finally, I sent Mr. Mallory a message about it while he was on vacation, sent it to the police chief, but at what point are we gonna hold them responsible for any damages? What point do we start making sure that there will be no damages done? Because it seems like they just get a little slap on the wrist and just keep going. With that, with the police as well, when you contact them, call them out to make reports about children in neglect, and they do nothing about it because it happened to be with a firework, and fireworks were allowed during 4th of July. You call them out to be a good citizen and make these remarks of saying, hey, we see children in danger, or hey, there's things that aren't right, or you see the police witnessing it themselves and they do nothing about it. There's a problem there. And it's not the first time I've stood up here and talked about the police ignoring these types of incidences when they are witness to them right there. I didn't think it was necessary to call them and say, hey, can you get a cruiser here? Hopefully within the next 5 minutes because they're about to leave. Don't understand that. Second, before you guys start planning more events, how many of you live in the village? Live directly in the village? Directly, not at the golf course. I mean,
No.
right here in the village.
Right here in the
Okay.
village.
Okay, so you guys all hear the noises and things, or do you? Okay, because I knew there was a couple board members beforehand that didn't live directly in the village, but at the golf courses or right on the outskirts of our village limits and Scott's. So if you guys are living in the village, make sure you're taking into consideration everybody that's within earshot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to trustees' time. Start with Mr. Olson.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to touch on a couple of things I touched on in the past. Everything that happens in the communities around us, one way or another, at some point is going to affect us, either through traffic or taxes or construction or something. And the Langley Bridge in Centerville, I talked about that a while back. That bridge takes 2,000 vehicles a day. They're going to do a $3.2 million project on that. They're going to basically pick the bridge up and repair it. They're going to replace the steel beams under the bridge. The deck will be replaced with new wood, new paint, and they're going to replace the concrete abutments at both ends. They do not have a start date on that, but that project will be completed by year's end. After the last council meeting, Todd Carlin, who's on the Schoolcraft Village Council, told me that they were going to be talking about the water and sewer projects. I wanted to get an update myself, so I went and sat in on the meeting after I left here. They are still talking water and sewer, but they're more concerned with water supply to the house. They are looking at $6 million just to hook the homes up for water and sewer. Another $6 million to hook up all the businesses in town. To show you how much this project has increased in cost, the original estimate to hook a house up was $12,000. It's now up to $20,000. So they're going to put sewer on the back burner for now and mainly be concerned with water. They are still looking at the possibility of a new water treatment plant across the county line in St. Joseph County in Park Township. And that was estimated originally to be 19 million. Now they're looking at 35 million. That's a projected cost. That's not a firm. Mr. Mallory and I during our conference the other day talked about a new apartment complex off of Sprinkle Road. We thought it was Kilgore Road, ML Avenue. I talked with Mr. Gessler, and that project's on East Millam. Now the construction is going to be going on for that. They've already broken ground on it. I think it's going to be a 130 or 180 unit complex. It's going to be big. It's on East Millam, east of Sprinkle, in behind Stryker Corporation. So there is a large retirement community there, but that traffic light it's bad now. It's going to be worse at that intersection. Lastly, the roundabout out here on 23rd Street and TU Avenue, it has not been shelved, but the word is that they're not going to do it this year. They're probably going to do it next year, but they're still planning on going ahead with a roundabout no matter what the residents want. And some of the residents in the area have already sold their homes because they don't want that. We are also looking at a roundabout at Osterhout and Portage up there by the skating rink. Yeah. You think that's bad? Guess what? Allegan just broke ground on a brand-new project, and they're going to get a roundabout, a big one. It's going to encompass 5 intersections. So when I go to Allegan, I won't be going to in through Otsego or Gobles this year. I'll be going in through Martin the back way because that's where all the traffic's going to get diverted to. So thank you very much.
Trustee Wagner.
Happy Oberon Day. So I've had this water bottle for years, and it was just coincidence. I did come out this morning, take it to work, and realize it's the first day of spring. So thank you, Bells, for supporting the Kalamazoo area. I wish we had a spot in Vicksburg for them. That'd be great. But happy Oberon Day, first day of spring. Thank you again, and congrats to Rachel Plankenhorn for accepting that appointment, hopefully to the Planning Commission. I know that it's a lot to take on, especially when you're already active. So to be continued to be engaged is great to see, and I think sets a good example for folks of the younger ages looking to get committed, that we have opportunities and places for you to be an asset to the community. So I'm appreciative, and that's it for me this evening.
Thanks, Ryan. Trustee Reister.
I would just like to thank the Vicksburg Foundation because the things that they have done for us and are so willing to support us is just amazing. There's a lot of things that we would not be able to do without them. So I'm very grateful for them. Thank you.
Trustee Fields.
Seems like every time we've gotten snow this year, it came like all at once. So again, on a weekend, yeah, exactly. So once again, DPW, thank you so much. By the time I'm up really early, and not only are the roads plowed, but so's my sidewalks. So very appreciative of that.
Trustee Holmes.
I'm good, thanks.
Trustee Holmes. Yeah, I'll make it brief. It's been a long day for everybody, but you know, truly this is an exciting time for this village, right? I'm apprehensive, I'm nervous, but this is what we set out 6 years ago, and the last 5 years of putting aside money to build a new Viz Hall. And it's not just for us. I mean, it's for the citizens for decades to come. I mean, everything we do, we look down the road to see how we can benefit, you know, the taxpayers of this village. So I got to compliment Fredericks for what they've done, right? They did their initial analysis when they went out and vetted, you know, buying a property, rehabbing a property, using existing property. They did that all free. So, you know, and they've been engaged every step of the way with the staff and myself. And, you know, it's just very, very professional organization. So that's all the thanks for tonight, and I appreciate you all and the volunteers in this community. And of course, I said it earlier, the Vicksburg Foundation, we are truly blessed to have them. But the volunteer base in this community is just out of sight, you know, to have people like you up here and the committees that are out there and how engaged they are and how busy they are in their own personal lives running a business, and they still want to be involved in the day-to-day activity, you know, in the Planning Commission and Rachel Plankenhorn in particular on the Chamber of Commerce. So we're very fortunate in that.
Mr. Frisbee?
Yes.
Just a quick comment, because I needed a part of the official record. I just need the foundation to know I'm not going to retire my pry bar.
It was clear to make that point, but and kudos to you for that, Jim. Thank you. Thank you. Don't let up. With that, unless there's any further comments, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Reister support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all for being here. Meeting adjourned.